Namaskar viewers, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I'm Tina Jha, you're watching Perspective. In less than 24 hours from now, two high-rise buildings in Noida, which is just adjacent to the national capital, will be razed to the ground in pursuance of a Supreme Court order. Over 3,500 kilograms of explosives will be used to demolish the nearly 100-meter tall Twin Towers, which are even taller than the Qutub Minar. This perhaps makes it the most complex and the biggest demolition exercise in the country. And to finish this job, it will take only about 9 seconds. The surrounding area of 500 meters radius has been marked as an exclusion zone where no human or animal will be allowed except for the members of the team in charge of the demolition procedure. Apart from this, the police, a team of the National Disaster Response Force, 8 ambulances and 4 fire tenders will also be deployed at the site. So first, to understand, why are these structures being demolished? Well, Supertech was granted approval back in 2005 by the Noida Authority to build 14 towers with 9 floors each, a shopping complex and also a garden area. However, it revised its project in 2009 to include twin high-rise buildings. Even though the authority approved the new plan, the Residents' Welfare Association moved the Allahabad High Court in 2012, alleging that it was an illegal construction. Then in 2014, the Allahabad High Court ruled that the towers were illegal and ordered demolition. In August 2021, the Supreme Court upheld the ruling of the Allahabad High Court and ordered demolition of the twin buildings. So after multiple delays and months of preparation, the demolition process will now take place on the 28th of August. Some of the key questions that arise and which we will discuss on the program today. How safe is the demolition procedure? What are some of the important concerns regarding the demolition? What will be its impact? And the key question, will the demolition of the two illegal buildings serve as a deterrent against illegal construction? To discuss these aspects, I am joined by a panel of experts. Pleased to welcome on the program today Mr. Arun Sahai, National Vice President, Builders Association of India, Mr. Bhanu Pratap Singh, former member of Uttar Pradesh Real Estate Regulatory Authority, and Dr. K.K. Pandey, Professor Urban Management, Center for Urban Studies, IIPA. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on this edition of Perspective on Sansad TV. Mr. Singh, allow me to begin the program today with you. So after, nearly a 10-year-long battle, legal battle to say, the illegal Twin Towers in Noida are going to be razed to the ground. Your views on what is perhaps going to be the most complex, the biggest demolition procedure that India has ever seen?
Well, you would recall that this is the tallest building which is going to be demolished in India. And as you had very rightly said, around 3,500 kgs of explosive is going to be used, and around more than 900 holes are going to be have been prepared where the explosives have been planted, and this is going to be an implosion, sort of something of a novel exercise. Many questions arise out of it, which, as you very rightly said, that we shall be discussing during the course of this discussion. But yes, the most moot point that arises here is why have we come to this point of implosion or demolition of the building?
Absolutely.
What was not done? What was the acts of omission and commission that were committed by all the stakeholders that we arrived at this juncture where lives of the Resident Welfare Association and that of environment is being endangered? These are the important questions that we must ponder over.
Certainly. So what are the lessons that we are going to learn from this exercise is something that I'll come back to you and we will discuss in the course of the program. But Dr. Pandey, in the run-up to the largest demolition exercise, what's also being spoken about is the procedure that is being used. It's being spoken a lot about how demolition is going to happen via controlled impulsion. Tell us about this technique. Is it a widely used one, and how safe is the procedure?
This technique is not new. It is used by other countries. In Abu Dhabi, it was used. And it is foolproof. I don't think it will create any bigger issue in this regard.
But
and
nevertheless,
I would like to add that this is very appropriate time when this is happening because of 3 points. 3 areas which were mentioned by Honorable Prime Minister on 15th of August. One is the corruption. Another relates to duties, kartabya as a citizen, or as officer, as builder, as leader. And third is our vision of developed India by 2047, because which will see massive urbanization. 461 million people will be added in urban areas by 2050. So this is going to be very important from all these three point of views, and also from the existing scenario where large scale illegal construction, illegal land subdivision have taken place.
Certainly, and this is one area where reforms have been extremely necessary, whether it's going to be a deterrent against illegal construction. Mr. Sahai, so, you know, the procedure of controlled impulsion, all of the experts are saying the team that is involved of engineers assures that there are going to be no vibrations, no tremors once the demolition procedure begins. But the larger question that arises is there going to be a shake-up in the realty sector in Noida, and where we've seen a number of rules being flouted, and ultimately it's the buyers that have to suffer?
See, as my colleagues have just stated, this is going to be a deterrent for in future for sure. And if certain malpractices have been there in the recent past or in the past, which are to surface now, everybody should be prepared that nobody is going to be spared. Anything which has gone beyond laws, beyond the law of the country, beyond the law of the state, has to take this with a pinch of salt. That is one. And as you stated about the implosion and the demolition, I have gone through the details, and I am very sure that it's been there in the practice, and there is nothing which has not been done in the past. It's a proven technology which is being used, and for sure, and nothing in and around the place is going to get damaged or we have to be concerned about. So that's my personal perception. So we should be confident that tomorrow's action is not going to affect the neighbors or the neighborhood for that matter, and it would be localized action. And as said, it is only an 8-second or 9-second activity which will take place, and everything hopefully should go very smooth.
Mr. Sahai, a related question that I want to ask you is, it may take just about 9 to 13 seconds to bring down this structure, which is apparently even taller than the Qutub Minar. The question that arises is, why did we reach this stage? Mr. Singh rightly said there were acts of omission and commission that must have taken place that brought us to this juncture. How is it being viewed by the Builders Association?
See, it is well accepted that a lot of things were being ignored or not been happening in the right perspective in the past, and perhaps that was the reason why the RERA came into existence, came into being. And when the RERA was being discussed, it was Builders Association and the organizations along with us, and practically all builders, they were wanting some rules and regulations to come into this industry to make it more professional, to make it more buyer friendly. So the RERA, when it came, things were not in the right shape. Everybody accepted that. That was the reason why RERA came into being. And the best part is now the RERA has been accepted by all, one and all. All builders, they accept that we have to go and abide the rules under which we are allocated a project. And accordingly, this would be something which would be accepted by all. So RERA has come into being, and it is well accepted. So in future, we can be assured no such malpractices, as we can say, or wrongdoings will surface, and it would be more buyer friendly. Yes, we are going through a phase and a lot of corrections are required.
So in future, to ensure that this does not happen, Mr. Bhanu Pratap Singh, What are the changes that the UP RERA has now undergone? This is a big lesson because it's been done in connivance with, the builders and the authorities. There is no doubt about it. It's been proven in court. After, the demolition takes place, how do we tighten the rules to ensure that such, open flouting of rules and norms does not take place? Has there been a change in now sanctioning the building maps?
The role of RERA comes in when the maps and other approvals have already been obtained, and these are done by the developmental authorities. But as Mr. that RERA does have a role and had a very strict, in fact, Section 40 is very specific that if any change in plan has to be taken up once a plan has been approved, but if the builder wants to change that plan, make an amendment, which was done in this Emerald Court project, then it has to follow the Section 14 procedure, and which envisages that the builder has to take consent of the 2/3 of allottees, prior consent of the 2/3 of allottees. That makes it very transparent. If any builder wants to make changes in the existing project, then it can be allowed only by RERA, and that too only after the builder or the promoter has taken consent of the 2/3 of allottees. So the law is very clear, and UP RERA has been very strict in this regard. Many applications have come before us where they had wanted to change. In fact, such changes.
We seem to have lost connection, and we'll try and reconnect with Mr. Singh. But let me go across to Professor Pandey once again and understand what brought us to a stage wherein, first the Allahabad High Court and then the Supreme Court had to, give a judgment for demolishing these twin towers. Dr. Pandey, of course, these were built in, violation of the building rules. But structurally, was there also a safety hazard because of which the courts had to, rule in favor of the demolition?
Yeah, they have not maintained the minimum space between the two towers. The open area which was initially left was changed and then again changed. So those type of basic precautions were not taken. And what Honorable High Court and Honorable Supreme Court has done to give a message across the country to see that any building can be demolished or anybody can be caught. Nobody will be spared. But I would like to add that this is not the Supertech and Noida only. There are some backseat drivers. Those also should be aware, and in future, there should be methods to check that the backseat drivers do not play. In fact, they play in a positive manner.
Professor Pandey, tell us about, the loopholes in the mechanism. How can we make it more robust and to ensure that there are checks and balances at different levels of construction and not just at the time of getting approval when it is at the laying out of map stage?
Mechanism is there, but the question is how to implement it. Application of building bylaws and rules is the basic process, which is not followed, which is violated. So things are there. There are codes, acts, bylaws, which are appropriate, but they are not followed by a typology of violators. We see the unauthorized constructions in Delhi, large part is illegal land subdivision. Then illegal construction, what we saw within just a couple of years back, that behind Filmistan, suddenly fire erupted and some people died. So those illegal construction. And third, very important is our builders do not follow, for example, in this case, related to this type of case is the disposal of CND waste, which is harmful for PM 2.10 air quality index, which is harmful. What they do, they take the CND waste to water bodies or natural water flow areas. And this is leading to floods, leading to loss of greenery, leading to environmental hazards. So CND waste is another area where it is not the private builder alone. The metro authorities, the Central Public Works Department, the PWD. I studied in Bangalore there the installed capacity of plant is 750 MLD. They are receiving only 150. Even the government agencies are not taking CND waste. Agencies means the builders working for the government are not taking to this site. Why? Because of transportation cost, because of the tipping fee to be given there. So this wider awareness in the construction sector has to come. Otherwise, we will not move toward India 2047 as a developed nation where 50 to 60% population will be living in urban areas.
Absolutely, and we have to ensure that such setbacks do not impact our progress. Mr. Sahai, looking at this exercise, it may be a one-off incident that is happening today in Delhi NCR, but it has a lesson for every builder in the country. Do you see it as a symbolic move that all could go wrong when builders, ignore construction regulations and flout these rules?
Definitely. Yeah, as you say, it is an isolated case, one in one of its type. But definitely, one thing is for sure, it gives more confidence to the buyers now that yes, there are authorities to listen to them. And of course, the system is there now to protect their interests. So that's been not there. And it is now quite apparent that it is a buyer-friendly environment which is getting into the real estate sector. So that was very important because there was for a very long period there were no set rules, and in case I would say that it was just not the builders who were at the wrong, but even the sanctioning authorities and execution. A lot of flexibility was being taken up, which resulted into all this. But it is a very isolated case, and it should be a deterrent for any wrongdoing in the future, for sure. It gives confidence to the buyer to that their interests would be protected in future.
Let's hope it acts as a deterrent against illegal construction.
So that's a positive side of the entire thing.
Absolutely. I think that's the most positive aspect of this entire story. But there are also concerns about the kind of possible impacts, Dr. Pandey, that such demolition exercises could have. So, if we set it as a precedent, you flout norms and you face such kind of demolition procedures, but largely the kind of implications it is going to have on the health, on the environment. How do you look at that aspect?
Yes,
Dr. Pandey. That question is for Dr. Pandey.
Yeah, environment is very important aspect, and the construction activities have a direct impact on environment. And from that angle, this incident should be taken as a milestone to move forward. And it is not the environment alone. Environment is linked with the productivity, with quality of life, with income generation, and overall development of society. So from that angle, in this area, the RERA has to play a very important role. And there are different examples from different states. For example, Maharashtra RERA is doing very well. They have implemented the provision of geotagging. I think UP RERA should also follow the geotagging of all the buildings put in the website. So it will bring more clarity and more awareness and more cross-check.
Okay, let me take that point to Mr. Bhanu Pratap Singh. Some of the RERAs in different parts of the country, as Dr. Pandey suggests, Mr. Singh, are doing extremely well. And this is something that UP RERA could also do, or perhaps maybe is doing. Throw some light on the geotagging aspect and how it can strengthen the mechanism to ensure that such incidents do not happen.
We have already taken cooperation of remote sensing organization and other things, and now the drones have also come. So we are wrecking the area, especially in the metros, where outskirts of the metros, such kind of projects do come up which are illegal and which are flouting the norms of the building bylaws also. But then, as you recall, the primary responsibility lies with the developmental authorities. They have the legal power also, and also the wherewithal to stop such kind of constructions also. RERA's role comes in only once the project has been registered. If the project has not been registered, then our hands are tied. So, and in New Tech judgment, the Honorable Supreme Court has made it very clear now that RERA cannot do anything in any project which are not registered. Such kind of actions or such kind of aberrations are done by mostly unregistered projects. Yes, Supertech, this Emerald Code, this is something which was registered also, and as I had as I said in earlier also, that it was a collusion of acts of commission and omission by the concerned authorities and also the builder also. You'd recall that the project or the layout of the plan was changed thrice, and so the triangular green belt, which was the bone of contention, was transferred into these twin towers.
I think that's an important point, Mr. Singh. The concern here is that it's not an unregistered project. It's not a small, builder. It's a big builder, renowned builder, and this construction did not come up overnight. So, as you said, the plan was changed overnight. But of course, in connivance with the authority officials, this happened, and now the result is for all of us to see. Tell us about the kind of changes that the procedure has now undergone in terms of issuing a registration, for example, say for a new realty project, and to ensure that such revisions do not have, occur as in this case of Supertech happened, and to ensure also that checks and balances happen at various stages, not just at the beginning of the project. This is one question I asked Dr. Pandey also, but what is the procedure of, granting registration licenses in UP?
Well, if a promoter comes up with a project before the RERA for registration, and before registration it cannot start construction, it has to have some kind of legal documents, of the land, the proper approval of the map or layout, the plan by the concerned authorities, and also the financial wherewithal also. Until unless there are certain documents which are mentioned in the acts also, until unless these documents are complied with, these procedures are complied with, the RERA does not give any registration to that. So that takes care of that approval part of it. Now, as you very rightly pointed out and wanted to know as to what are the checks and balances, how we can stop that. Now, the three takeaways of the RERA, primarily, as Mr. Arun Sahai has very rightly said, was that it had to ensure a level playing field, and most importantly, a transparency has to be done. And the RERA Act has ensured a transparent procedure whereby everything has to be done online. The map has to be uploaded online. The documents have to be uploaded online, and everything has been visible to and accessible to everybody, even the promised allottees, prospective allottees also. And as far as the checks and balances are concerned, the acts and procedure have laid down quarterly progress report also. We have made it mandatory that if a promoter or a builder does not upload its quarterly project report, and if the quarterly project report does not conform to the approved map and everything, the RERA takes action accordingly, and we stop the construction of that project.
All right.
Withhold or we suspend the registration.
Okay, Mr. Sahai, I'll take one last question from you, taking on from what Mr. Singh has spoken about in the sense that, there is now a lot of transparency. There are newer efforts to ensure that such kind of illegal constructions do not take place. But from the builder's point of view, tell us whether all of this is translating into action. Can we say that, after the kind of changes that we have seen in the RERA Act and, the kind of reforms that Mr. Singh has been talking about, that this could be the last demolition in India, and perhaps going forth, we will not see any kind of such illegal construction at such a large scale in our country? Can we say that?
Yeah, I hope so. From today onwards, I don't see any project which will come up will face such a situation, face such an unfortunate end, and that is for sure. And RERA, as you said, since it is still in the upcoming stage, it is still new to the builders. Big companies have adopted to it very fast, whereas the middle level and small developers, builders, they are still taking time. But yes, it's a reality now which everybody realizes. That's more important. And I, for one, believe in transparency as Mr. Singh said, everything has to be on the website of a builder. Every buyer should be aware of what's happening on the project. What is the financial status? What is the physical status? What are the liabilities? What are the milestones and targets, schedules, which are required to be met? So everything has to be there on the website.
Okay, so, let's hope that even though this is a very complex and perhaps the biggest demolition exercise that is going to take place in Delhi NCR on Sunday, that's the 28th of August, that we only hope that it acts as a deterrent against illegal construction in the country. And it's a lesson for every stakeholder, the buyers, obviously, that, so that they ensure that they have checked everything, for the builders, most importantly, and also for the corrupt authority officials who will ensure that, such kind of flouting of rules and norms does not take place in future. So that having been said, I'll have to wind up the program. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on this edition of Perspective today, sharing your thoughts, your views with us and our viewers. Absolute pleasure to have you all three on this edition of The Perspective. So that's it from us on the program today. Thank you, viewers, to you as well for your time. We'll see you same time on Monday now with a new topic and a different set of panelists. Until then, take good care of yourselves and keep watching Sansad TV.